7th marked exactly the 5-month anniversary of the date that COVID-19 was declared a pandemic by the World Health Organization. So this week is officially COVID month 6. Welcome to COVID month 6. I'm not sure if that's a great thing or not. Well, I know it's not a great thing, but and nonetheless, here we are. We're approaching the half-year point. I'm going to just go over today a few things. I'm going to spend some time I'll give you a quick financial update, talk about how we're doing on protecting our cash and viability and all of that. I'll give you a little update on a people item, protecting our people, and then I'll finish with what we're doing for our customer experience and share my vision for the future. So we'll start out with June accounting. We got that finalized. We run about 4 weeks behind on getting our accounting finalized from the previous month. So we did a little bit better than we had forecasted in our model. We had reduced our overhead, our fixed overhead, just slightly faster than we had anticipated. That was a good thing. We had just a slightly better yield on the bookings than we had forecasted. And so the net result of those two things was that we reduced our cash burn down to $36,500 a day. Yoo-hoo! I know you guys are all dealing with your own personal cash burns because you're all entrepreneurs and business owners. And if nothing else, just feel grateful that you're not losing $36,500 a day like we are. But so far, so good. We've still got a plan to get through this and to make it through. In terms of July, the July bookings, and let me just share with you my screen. And can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so this is the July airline bookings. We actually, as a company, we booked $10.1 million in travel during the month of July. This is the airline ticket bookings. As you can see, this back here was early April, and as you can see, we started a nice increase. That high water mark there is the middle of June, and then the resurgence of the pandemic started to come back, and it slowed down into July. The good news is the last 4 weeks it's gone up every week since this point here. So these are the last 4 weeks. So good news there. These are our sales company-wide, and kind of the same story. Started out in April with a lot of negative airline sales, refunds. As you all know, you were all refunding airline tickets just as fast as the rest of the travel advisors were. And April was a big airline negative booking. Then it started to increase kind of steadily through May. We had a nice, really steady increase in May. If we could have just kept that trajectory, it would have been fantastic. And it actually happened until about the middle of June. And then the total sales started to kind of go down. And they've flattened out. So the good news is they're not going down anymore. They're holding steady. And as you can see from the airfare, they're actually improving a little bit. This here is just Andavo only, and Andavo had a really a less worst month than
Right.
than several of the other divisions. So you actually booked the Andavo division booked about $800,000 in July. Now that's compared to 5.9 million the year before in July. So it's about 15% of what we were booking before, but it's really encouraging from this point of view. In May of 2019, the Andavo travel agents in aggregate booked $176,000 in travel in May. It went up, it almost tripled in June and went from 176 to 463,000 in June. And then it, almost doubled from June to July, went from 463,000 to 802,000. So there's a nice steady increase happening, which is good and encouraging, in spite of the fact that it's a fraction of what you were all booking the same time last year. And you can see most of it's hotel bookings. we've got 573,000 of the Andavo bookings were hotel bookings, 53% of it. And then there were some tour and cruise bookings and some travel insurance and service fees and other things. This next slide is just an indication of how the industry is doing on just airline tickets only. And this is a particularly interesting slide because it shows this is ARC from ARC, and this is all airline tickets issued in the United States by all travel agencies. They've broken it down into three categories. The ARC numbers that are focused on business travel, the ones that are focused on leisure travel, and the ones that are the OTAs or the online travel agencies, Expedia, Priceline, Booking.com, and those folks. We're sort of in all three businesses right now, at least temporarily, because we have this. We're doing some business again with Priceline. I'll talk about that in a minute. But Priceline is the top line, and so it's actually Priceline and Expedia are the top line. It's actually doing the best, which we're getting some business because of that. The second line is the Andavo line. That's the leisure travel line. It's doing the second best. And then the bottom line is the business travel line. And it's had the smallest amount of comeback. So, you can see that leisure is still down 90% year over year. Corporate's down 90% year over year in the most current week. Leisure is down 20% year over year. And the OTAs, the online travel agencies, are down, they're down 80%. Sorry, you're down 80%. You're doing 20%, and then the OTAs are down 70%. They're at 30% mark. So I guess the question is, how did what happened in June and July change our financial model, and what did it do for our roadmap and our, the amount of time we have with the finance we have and so forth? There were three things positive that happened since we met last. The first one is that we lost slightly less than we had forecasted in June. That helped a little bit. The second is that bookings did flatten out in July, and we knew when we were talking at this time next month that bookings were sort of on their way down from that high in the middle of June, but we didn't know if they had bottomed out yet. It turns out that about when we talked a month ago, they did bottom out at about that time, and so they did flatten out for the month of July and into August, so that was a positive. And then the third thing is that we landed a new deal with Priceline. And it's a big deal. They have contracted with us to hire 37 of our travel agents, not hire, but put to work. This travel agents still work for us, but we are contracted with them to do work that will keep 37 travel agents busy full time. It's a 90-day contract, started on August 6th. It'll go into early November. If everything goes well, they've assigned a thing that says they get they have the option to renew it in 2-week increments. And so if everything went perfect, they would renew it through November and December, which is our slowest time of the year. And then they wouldn't need us at the first of the year when we get busy again and need our travel advisors back. So really feel fortunate that we were able to land that deal again. And they actually went live today they were training last week, and they're in what they call a nesting period today where they're working. What did those three positive things do for us? The fact that we lost a little less than anticipated, the fact that the bookings didn't continue to nosedive in July, and that we got this Priceline impact. Basically three things. One is it's going to allow us to unfurlough or take off furlough of about 20 travel agents that were currently furloughed. So we will actually have almost all of our travel agents, almost every single travel agent that was either furloughed or working for us here in about 10 days. They're doing this in 2 batches. They trained the first batch last week, and then they're going to get that group of travel advisors integrated into their system. And then next week, they're going to bring on the second batch. And so we'll be unfurloughing a number of people. So it did that. The second thing that it did was in our model, I think I talked to you about the fact that we've sort of made it's not a forecast or a goal, but just a projection on what we need to do to just sort of be okay for an extended period of time. and it did lower the needed growth in that model. It took it down from 10% to 8%. That's a good thing. The other thing is it added the amount of cash flow that we'll get on the Priceline deal will add a full 2 months of cash reserves on the back end of the model. So we'll make enough to add a full 2 months. So the model now that we have with the 8% growth built in each month takes us through July of 2021, and we would still be in good shape there. The next thing I wanted to do is talk a little bit. So that's all good news. Now, this is not such great news, but it's the reality of what's happening. And these are a couple of charts from IATA, and this is sort of like looking towards the future and talking about what IATA is forecasting is going to happen, from here on. The red line on top is the capacity growth that the airlines added back. Then the blue line is the actual people traveling on airplanes. And so if you jump over to here on the right side, it's the April through August, you can see that the airlines were a little bit more optimistic than the traveling public was. They were adding flights faster than the traveling public was willing to travel. And that gap started to widen at the end of July. And even, based on the schedules that have been announced for the month of August, it appears that the gap's going to get even wider, that there will be significantly more flights flying than there are people on those flights. That's actually not such a bad thing for our customers, because it means that there'll be, the flights will be less populated, at least through August, and there'll be more empty space on the planes, which is a good thing. So IATA changed their forecast. They had originally forecasted that domestic travel would come back to 2019 levels by 2022, and that international levels would come back by 2023. Doesn't mean it'll be dead between now and then. It just means that it would take between now and then to come back to the full levels of where it was. Because of this discrepancy that we're looking at here with the reduced people not flying as fast as they'd hoped, IATA has extended out that forecast another year. And so they're now saying that domestic travel will not come back to pre-COVID levels until 2023, and international travel won't come back to pre-COVID levels until 2024. So that's the reality of what what they're telling us. The other thing that I wanted to mention is just a little side note about our people. And with all of our employees, we did what is referred to as an employee NPS survey. NPS stands for Net Promoter Score, and it's a completely anonymous survey. We couldn't find out who answered the questions in which way, even if we wanted to make sure that that the people are protected that way. And we got back just a couple of weeks ago. We got back our eNPS scores from all of our employees up through just right through then. We got a score of 55, which is an off the charts good score. So in spite of everything being as bad as it is, at least our employee group, feels optimistic about the way things are going and the way we're doing things. Just to put that into perspective, a good typical NPS scores for companies that are considered good run in the 10 to 30% range. That's considered a good eNPS score. And the companies that have off the charts employee experiences run, Google, for example, has a score of 42. They're one of those companies that people, want to work for, and we came in at 55. So don't know what it means, but it felt good anyway. And, at least we've got some, good morale still happening in general. And with that, I want to just talk a little bit about the future and share with you my vision for the future and what we're working on, what's on our mind. So the one thing that we are certain of is that when travel does come back here, when people start traveling again, more than 15%, which is what they're doing right now, or what they were doing a year ago, when people actually start traveling, what we know is that the market's going to be smaller than the market was pre-COVID. We're pretty confident of that. And I'll talk about all four of our product categories and share my thoughts as to why that is. Last week on CNBC, well, we know business travel will be curtailed. going forward for some time. And last week on CNBC, they reported that, and this is a direct quote, cost cutting is taking many forms, but two of the most obvious have been reductions in travel and lower rent, both of which are becoming permanent. Well, you all know, you can all relate to that, right? We closed 3 of our 4 offices. That wasn't good for the landlords that we were paying rent to. And of course, our customers that are doing the traveling are still not traveling like they were before. So we are seeing those 2 things firsthand. In terms of the luxury travel, my thoughts on why there will be some headwinds for luxury travel is just simply that people are going to just be a little bit more cautious. I think there's a lot of pent-up demand. And I think once people feel safe in traveling again, and the borders open, and the states open, and the popular destinations open for travel, I think there will be a ton of pent-up demand. But I'm predicting that there'll still be just at least some level of cautiousness amongst that group of people, for a couple of reasons. One's just being a little bit more financially conservative, and the other is, there'll still probably be some health concerns. But most of the predictions that we're seeing are that when it does come back, that leisure travel and luxury travel will come back faster than business travel. So that's good for all of you. In terms of groups and meetings and humanitarian travel, we were still operating in the negative area in the month of July. Our AMI division and our CV humanitarian division have both had negative sales for April, May, June, and July. In all 4 months, we were refunding and canceling events faster than we were booking anything new. And so I think those divisions are going to have the hardest road back. And I mean, it just makes sense. It's kind of hard to social distance, when you're in a conference in a hotel in Las Vegas with 4,000 of your best friends, which is why Virtuoso Travel Week was not done that way this year. And my guess is that will probably continue for a while on that side. And then the fourth reason, rather, that I think that'll come back a little slower is just the economic damage that's being done to the economy in general. I think that will provide us all with a little bit of a headwind. So the question is, how are we going to deal with a smaller travel market? And drum roll, I will show you. Okay, we are going to reinvent ourselves to be leaner, smarter, and better. That's how we're going to do it. And I think that all of you are probably, independent entrepreneurs, independent business owners, and you're probably all thinking about the same thing right now. How are we going to run our business when the clients that we've been dealing with all these years are traveling a little bit less or somewhat less than they were, in 2019? So what do I mean by leaner, smarter, and better? The leaner part we've pretty much already done. We've done that. We're down to the one main office, the one big office. Most of our team is working remote now. Even in that office, in the Salt Lake office, we've only got a few people working. We've got a few Andavo travel advisors that choose to come in still, and we've also got somebody in accounting and a receptionist and just a few people. But it's pretty much empty. But we will emerge from this with a much smaller team. So about 1/3 of our team, we started out with about 270 employees when this thing happened on March 11th. And we're currently with this, when we finish bringing back the people that we're bringing back for the Priceline deal, we'll be at about 60% of where we were at pre-COVID. But there's about 85 team members that were laid off that won't be coming back to, most on the Christofferson side, won't be coming back anytime soon. And we did those as a layoff instead of a furlough. And honestly, it was probably just because it was the more compassionate thing to do, because we knew that we weren't going to have the business to employ that many people, and we'd be better off to let them know now and have them make plans rather than be on furlough thinking that there was some opportunity that wouldn't be. So the leaner part we've done. The smarter part, we're just eliminating everything that didn't create value. So we've gone through our entire, just as all of you are as well, I know, we've gone down our budget line by line, item by item, and saying, what are we doing that we can eliminate? What are we doing that didn't add value and that we don't need to do? And many of the things that we have found is that we were building a lot of, on our tech side, we were building a lot of utilities that frankly didn't create a lot of value because there were other companies that built those same utilities and frankly built them and did them better than we were doing them with our own team. So we have decided to outsource many of the things that we were building. And I won't go into a lot of detail on this right now. Josh is on the phone with me. He could spend a whole afternoon telling you about all of this. We're pulling all of it because he's leading the team that's doing all of this, but are highly involved in what's going on here, and has actually negotiated with most of these companies that I'm gonna mention to you to get the contracts, to get the deals that we've got. You'll be hearing a lot about some things we're doing. One of them is called Okta. It's a workforce identity and customer identity security platform. That's actually good because it will provide us and you security in this crazy environment that we're in with everybody trying to hack our accounts. And so that's good news for all of you. It's a world-class security platform. We are buying a program called Umbrella, which is basically a customer profile system that will be available to all of you, and it's a world-class customer profile system. We're buying, and many of these we've signed, some that we're doing final negotiations. We bought a program called Magnatech, which is a best-of-class unused ticket tracking program, and another platform called Five9, which is a customer engagement platform. And all of those things we're doing because it's the smarter way to do it. And frankly, it ties into being leaner too, because we won't need as many tech people to build things that we could buy a better quality product of. We'll still have our tech team. We're still going to build things that we can't buy from someone else that will differentiate us, and you'll see us getting even better, which is the next part of this whole thing. And that is that we are going to shift these resources to building things that will make us better. And we've got our eye on the traveler right now. We have had that for some time, actually. And we're going to be doing some things that will be good for the traveler in helping them have a better customer experience with us. So the bottom line in becoming leaner, smarter, and better is that it'll help us get through this pandemic economically, and then we'll come out of it better and stronger and have a better value proposition. And one of the things that's going to happen to all of you and us is we're going to have competitors that don't make it. They're just not going to make it through this downturn. And those of us that are here will have those opportunities to pick up that market share, and I think we'll be fine. That's my presentation on what we're going to do, what we're doing, how we're doing, and I'm happy to open it up for Q&A if you want to shoot some questions in the chat box.
I don't see anything in the chat box yet. I was going to see if Josh had any updates on anything, if there's anything he wanted to give any updates on as well.
Perfect.
I don't right now. I'm happy to answer any questions I can, though. And I think Mike pretty much covered the stuff that I'm working on, subject to some of the stuff that we're looking at. I don't think we're ready to make any announcements yet, but we're starting to look at a lot of products that will help you guys too. It's not just unique to the corporate division. We're spending a lot of attention right now and time and attention to, revamp initiatives around invoicing and some client-based initiatives and different things as well to try to improve product there.
So we did just have a question from Shirley that asked if Umbrella will replace client base. And at this point, no. Umbrella is separate from client base. Do you know if there is any integration from Umbrella into client base? Have we explored that yet with Umbrella?
I don't know if there is or not. They kind of operate as different systems to me. So we can ask. It's a great question. I don't know how they could interact.
It's more of a GDS.
It's more
of a GDS profile.
Yeah. It has more to do with the GDS profile. It becomes the primary place to house the GDS profile. So those of you that are GDS agents that have your traveler profiles in a GDS profile, that could be a bar or a star or a world file. Did I get that right? And those bars and stars and world files will all interact with Umbrella as the
That's right.
primary.
And that's right. And the client base also has a traveler profile. So it's a good question. There might be a way we can link those. So we'll do some homework around that and ask that question. But I think the main point is that we're trying to pay attention to this. We want to figure out how to solve it, not just for the corporate agents. We're definitely thinking about the Andavo network at the same time.
And Cindy asked a question on the new client system, and are we looking at replacing client base, or are we keeping that? We are exploring some other options that may be a replacement for client base. We've not found anything that really operates any better than client base right now. We do know that client base is kind of an outdated system. They've not done a lot in improving or enhancing that system. So we have looked at another one that is a Virtuoso preferred partner that is, I think it's Travel Contact is what it's called, but it still operates very much the same as client base does, and it does not have a very good integration with Aggresso at this point. So right now, we are kind of keeping status quo with client base, but we will continue to look and see if there's any other systems out there that would be better.
Yeah, and I would just add really quickly, I think we said this last time, but if any of you have had experience with another CRM style of tool that you've really enjoyed, that worked really well, make sure and let Kirsten and or Meredith know about that. And we'll definitely do a product review of that and look at it. We want to know about anything that's out there in the market constantly that's interesting.
And
So this
Terry,
one,
just
maybe Josh could respond to this one too, from Terry. Apart from the WTC and their travel safe standards, are we seeing anything done globally that helps us determine the safest routes and destinations? I'll expand that question to, to even, include vendors and other health and safety matters. And Josh is working on that right now as well. So what can you tell him?
I wish I had an easy answer for that. I don't. We're looking at this. We're trying to. I mean, I don't know the specifics of the answer to that particular question. What I'll say is that we're just looking generally at location safety information, whether that's geopolitical or natural disaster related, which we've kind of done in the past, and or now this new health and safety information and anything new and live that's coming out with as it pertains to COVID. So we're trying to figure this out right now. I had a call actually even this morning with another vendor that does this called SafeCure that BCD uses and Travelport actually uses too. Travelport's a reseller of that information. Any of you that are in Apollo right now, I know there's some of you that are Apollo GDS agents. There's an Apollo SmartPoint plugin that you can use that is through Travelport. You can download it. And that SmartPoint app or plugin will give you SafeCure information on these locations. I know nothing about it. It's something I learned yesterday. But long story short, we're trying to figure this out. We're trying to figure out a way to gather the best information sources and then present them back in a public forum that anyone could use, including you guys.
Do you guys have access to the CBT health and safety standards document? I think you're on mute, Kirsten.
sorry, it's on mute. I believe that is getting sent out to everyone. Krista should have that when she's sending those out, and then the blog. And then Allie copies those into the Andavo blog as well.
Good. Josh, can you answer Jackie's question? What's the app in SmartPoint called? She's booking someone in Europe today.
Yeah, sorry, I'm on mute. Let me.
I can follow up with Travelport on that. And give
let me forward you the email that I was sent by Susan Doozy at Travelport, Kirsten,
okay,
and then
I'll get that out
you
to
can
the
figure
Apollo
out how to
users.
disseminate it out to any of the Apollo agents.
Yeah, we'll do.
I will say, I will give kudos to Josh and to our team that's been working on some of these things. He had a best practices meeting in the last week or so with one of the BCD affiliates that is a large affiliate. They're close to our size back east. And they wanted to just share best practices on how they're solving this whole, travel safely, issue and communicating things to clients. And they were quite impressed with what we've done. But so I don't put words into their mouth. What did they tell you, Josh?
They just we showed that we demoed for them a public facing page that we actually haven't released to anybody yet, because that's going to happen probably maybe even this week. But we have some cool data that we're going to be sending out where you can click on different countries, and I can send this through the chat for any of you that are in the chat. You can kind of see this preview, but I just sent the link out so you can click on that link and see kind of what we're building, but gives you the ability to click on a particular country and it'll filter safety alerts for that country. And we're going to continue to improve this. So this is kind of a first draft, so to speak, but we're going to continually start adding stuff to this page. So you can go to that link that I set in the chat and start taking a look at it.
Thank you. Any other questions from anybody?
I don't see anything else come in just yet.
Yeah. By the way, the what's the itineraries that we send out when you book airfare and send airfare itineraries through to your clients? Those we've got a header on those that have give the traveler access to the health and safety guide and some of those things. Correct? Are we doing that on the Andavo itineraries as well? Do you know?
We should be. It should be sending out the same thing, which today is a link to. There was a change that was rolled out, I believe, last week to the itinerary. If you're using the itinerary, and it shows at the top now an orange caution block, and it has a link in that block to our health and safety guide, which is currently going to the blog. But once we release this link that I just sent out in the chat, it will start going to that link in the future. So more to come there.
Cindy, it's Siata. She asked about, Allie had sent it out. It is SITATA, Global Travel Restrictions on Coronavirus and Travel app. And I will get this copied and put over here in the chat as well. And it would have been an email from Allie Moffett. I believe it's something that you can add into your website as well. We've had some people some of our advisors that have added a link to this onto their homepage and have had success with that.
Well, we've kind of hijacked your weekly meeting, so I'll let you guys hang on and have fun together.
All right. Well, thank you guys for the update.
Thank you very much, all of you. We're greatly appreciative of having you all be associated with us, and just working hard to get through this thing every day, as I know all of you are as well. It gets tiresome sometimes to see how slow things are moving, but it's chugging along, that's for sure. Thank you, guys. We appreciate all of you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Goodbye.
So there was another question. Eileen, is there permission needed to add that link to a website? Allie would be the best person to answer that. She's on vacation today. She'll be back in on Thursday, but I don't think so. I think that you could add that link to your website. It is not something that, I'll have to check and see. Cindy, you just add, if we could add it to our Andavo website. Our Andavo sites are profile pages, and so I don't exactly know how those work, but I will follow up with that and see if it is a link that could be added. So I think we have a spot for links on the profile page, so I will follow up on that and get back with everybody. So how is everybody doing? You're free to jump off of mute now if you want to jump in. And we had quite a few people at Virtuoso Travel Week last week. And for the most part, I've just been hearing really good reviews from everybody. You know, aside from the lack of personal connection, the one-on-one face-to-face video calls seem to go really well. The platform, I think, had just a little bit of a problem at the very beginning, but for the most part, the one-on-ones all worked very well. And for those of you that did not participate in the networking sessions, you had the ability to go and do the professional development at any point in time. And I thought they had a really great lineup, a lot of really good speakers. So I got a lot out of those. And for those of you that did register, you do have access to those recordings for 30 days. So if there are any of those sessions that you had not attended, I think it would be great to go in and attend those over the next 30 days, or were we 27 days now? And so I did see here, there's another comment from Diane. All of us need a link for our clients to read our terms and conditions to keep us from being liable instead of us inventing the wheel. Can we ask Andavo to create a suggested one? I've put out a suggested sample from ASTA on a terms and conditions. They came up with a great one. There are different ways that you could get that out. I've seen people add it into signature line, that you have your link to your terms and conditions in your signature line to have your clients pull that up and acknowledge that. Others have added it to their website. Again, with that, I can check and see if we could add that to your Andavo advisor profile page, so that would be listed there. The only thing is that your terms and conditions, you really want to have customized with your agency name as well as Andavo Travel, so we don't have one blanket one, because you want both of those company names listed. You want your independent contractor name listed as an independent affiliate of Andavo Travel. So there is some customized work that needs to be done, and but we can work with you on that and getting that put together. I'll resend the one that ASTA put out. It has the insurance disclaimer or waiver as well attached to it. So I will get that resent to everybody today. And then just make sure that as you're putting that in, if you've got any questions on adding it to your signature line, Allie would be able to help you with that. And then I will follow up on getting that added into our profile pages as well. I did get an email from Ellie earlier today that she's gotten some bookings. So that's great. It was a Viking, was it Viking River? So that is awesome. I like to hear when you guys are having success and doing some bookings. It was a 2021, which I think that's what we're pretty much going to be seeing, is mostly travel for 2021. I don't know if anybody has had the opportunity themselves to travel recently. It would be great to hear from you if any of you had, just to see what your travel experience is. Allie is out through Wednesday. She'll be back on Thursday this week. And Eileen just confirmed 2 cabins on Viking for August 21 and a nice Regent booking for December 21. Just haven't added to CB yet. And that brings up something I want to clarify with everybody. As we're talking about sales numbers, I just want to make sure that you all understand what the difference is with sales numbers. We have 2 different ways of looking at sales numbers. Typically, when we're looking at our sales numbers, it's by transaction date, which is the date that you're invoicing that sale. And then we can also look at our sales by travel date. So when we're looking at trends and looking at where our bookings were this year compared to last year, I do like to look at travel date versus invoicing date. But right now in the given environment with so many cancellations and rebookings, and it's just better to gauge kind of where we are in starting over, that we're looking at what our new sales coming in are. And then as we're getting into 2021, we'll start then looking again at those travel dates. We'll probably skip comparing anything to 2020, and we will compare our future sales to 2019 pre-COVID sales. So there will be some things that we'll need to look at with our reporting software and how we can compare current to 2019. But as we're looking at what we're doing right now, we are comparing the invoice sales date as what we've got for bookings that have come in the month of July versus the month of August. And so I'll get back to the chat here. Shirley had 3 cabins on Uniworld for April next year, wondering if we should try to get a group. That is something else I wanted to bring up. In a lot of my conversations last week, or in many of my conversations last week, we talked about agency cruise sales. And we've done this in the past with Regent on a pretty regular basis. We would set up agency group sales or groups, and then anybody would be able to sell into those groups. I think it is a great way to get the added value of the group without yourself having to have a group. So if you've got something that's looking like it could be the start of a group, I think that is great information. Most likely would go through Meredith. Get that information to Meredith Price, and then we can work on getting the agency cruise group together. Probably don't want to do this all the time, but I think that there are some cases where it really makes sense. Uniworld, we'll do it with Regent, Seabourn. If there's anything else that's looking good, we can look at those also. Commission can be based on the individual cruise cabins that you've sold. So as we get that group cruise commission in, we will be able to break that down based on cabin by cabin, what the earned commissions are. And hang on a second from Eileen. I view all base travel date. Okay. And then no cancel factor, waiting until after travel to track. Yeah, so when you're looking at, so Eileen, just to make sure you're looking at when you're tracking your own sales, you're doing it based on travel date. And that really makes the most sense for you guys to be tracking your sales based on the travel date. Now we are getting our reports, our pipeline sales reports rolled out. We've got the second group of people that will have access to those just this week. And so I'll be getting with that group of people that can see that sales pipeline report. What that report does is show you anything that you have invoiced, and then what stage it is in with commissions being received by the agency. We have not received a commission yet, and then at what point it will be on your statement. So those reports will become online. You can access them through our portal, and along with that, you'll have your online agent statement as well. So you can use that report for your commission tracking then. You can go in and see, you can search it for a traveler or a certain vendor. You can select different date ranges, but it will be based on anything that you have invoiced in our system. You'll then be able to track. It is quite a bit of work to get the permissionings done on it. So we do have phases of different groups of advisors that we're rolling that out to each month. And another question, did I understand correctly that we are now using only one IATA for all bookings? We are. So we have decided that through all of the closing of the offices, and then combining all of our ARC numbers to the Salt Lake City address that for ease of use, we are going to go to one ARC number or IATA number. It is the 06512-376, the traditional Colorado ARC number. That is the one that the majority, about 80% of you already used. So it was the least amount of change by going to that number. All of our GDS, except for one, have been changed to this. We're still working on the last conversion, but WorldSpan, Apollo are all switched over to the 06512-376 ARC number. We are working through, and it's a huge project, but we are working through the different cruise lines and tour operators to get those consolidated and determine what their process is for existing bookings and what we need to do. So each will become a case by case. In some instances, the vendor is able to just take everything on the books and convert it to the Colorado ARC number. In other cases, it's just not within their process to change an ARC number without doing a huge transfer process. And so in that case, we may just leave it as is and ride those out, but new bookings will be on the Colorado ARC number. So much of this is going to be case by case. Meredith is going to put together a spreadsheet grid as we're working through these vendors on what it is that you'll need to do. Some companies, Delta Vacations is one, you will need to maintain 2 different logins. You'll need to maintain a login under your old ARC number that would have any existing bookings in it, and then log into the Colorado login to create any new bookings. But all of your future credits really are not tied to an ARC number. So as you have a booking that is canceled out and now you're ready to book new for them and apply that credit, you can do that under the Colorado ARC number and still apply that credit even if that credit was on a different ARC number. So yeah, I know I've gotten some emails from some of you, and that's great. As you are seeing some different suppliers that you're working with, if they've not updated their systems, let us know. Their update process sometimes is very slow. We have offices that are vendors that still had showed our Alabama office as all seasons travel and had not updated to make them Andavo travel. So all these years later, now another change. So we will continue to work with those. I have updated W9 to send out. So if any of them need that, let me know. We can get that sent to them. And then they've got the new commission payment address. So continue to let us know. This is not going to be an overnight success. It's going to take some time for us to get through this whole process. So but as you have new bookings, then let's look at what you need to do to get those under the new ARC number. And so now Eileen's got another comment here. Make sure I find the right place here. So all cruises would use the 06 IATA, correct. As we get through that consolidation, everybody, cruise lines, tour operators will use that same ARC number. And this, she's asking if this would help with the commission margins to have it all consolidated. Many of our programs were already rolled into one program, but many of the cruise lines did look at each office individually. And so, yes, having it all wrapped into one does help in the consolidated efforts of a higher commission program. So that is one of the deciding factors as well, is that it does help boost our overall production. Usually invoice cruises at final payment and then no wasted effort if the cruise cancels. Any chance of an updated list of our BDMs? I am keeping updates as much as I can in Air Portal. under the leisure, in the resource center, under the leisure tile, we'll have a section for the vendor sales representatives. In that, I am trying to keep as updated as I know. So if you hear of anybody that has been let go or has moved on or is on furlough, then make sure to send that over to me and I will get that updated. In many cases, I don't have who the replacement is. I just have that our person has been on furlough. So if you see that someone is on furlough and you know that there's a new contact information, let me know that. But I will do all that I can to keep that updated with the information that I'm receiving back from the vendors. I was at a meeting with PATH a couple of weeks ago. It's the Professional Association of Travel Hosts. And one of the days at this conference, we meet with the vendors, high-level representatives of the cruise lines and tour operators. And a lot of the discussion that came up is just what does the future look like for BDMs? And unfortunately, there were not a whole lot of answers at this point. How we will work with companies in the future could very well change. We don't know exactly what their budgets are going to be, but many of them have already changed their regions or their sales compensation based on the amount of people they've had to furlough and just the added work that people have had. I've had conversations with a lot of those after the fact, a lot of the vendors after the fact, and just what it looks like for us, having had multiple representatives, and now if we have one location, what will that mean for local representation? I've talked with A&K and Classic and Delta Vacations and then a couple of others with cruise lines. They can't guarantee anything, but they will do all that they can to allow for local representation. It is in their best interest, and they all acknowledge that it's in their best interest for the local reps to supply or represent the local agencies. We have to do our part as a host agency and let them know where people are, because if they don't know where you're sitting, they don't know that they need to invite you to something. A lot of you, especially California and Alabama, have had close relationships with your local reps, and most cases, those reps are still wanting to help you as much as they can. There just may be some times that they have to turn it over to the person that is repping the entire agency if we're looking at getting some waivers or VIP access or anything like that. With Classic Vacations, they just told me that rolling out the beginning of the year, they're changing their whole platform and how they do representation. Paul Giannini, who's been the Colorado rep, will be responsible for the agency as a whole, but they are restructured completely, and they have regional sales reps that will help anyone that has a zip code in their region, regardless of what agency ARC number, IATA number that agency books under. So if your zip code falls under their representation zone, then you would get representation from them locally. But Paul will be responsible for the company as a whole. So I think that there will be, some hybrid solution out there, that there will be local representations, but a agency representative for a lot of vendors. Diane asked if we've lost a lot of BDMs so far. Not a huge number, but yes, there's been a lot of BDMs that we have lost, mainly short-term furloughs. They were expected to either take the month of June or July or August off. So it's been a short-term loss, but we have seen quite a few that have just cut the position altogether, and they've gone from maybe 20 BDMs down to 10. And those 10 remaining have had their regions completely redefined. So there are a lot of changes coming. I think that there could still be some more changes Depends on how long some of this lasts and to what extent. The cruise lines are probably seeing it the most with long-term furloughs, where some of the hotels, we've also seen some long-term. They've just eliminated a lot of the sales positions. Some of the tour operators, I'm seeing more short-term, like you're just taking a month off or 90 days off and then back to work. I don't see that anything else has come in, but anybody else have any questions or want to jump in and talk about any recent travels that you've had? And Lisa, she and her daughters took a road trip to South Carolina, stayed at Sanctuary, Hotel Bennett and Montage Pomona Bluff. All three properties had limited capacity and were following strict safety standards. Felt very safe, very good. That's nice. It sounds like a great trip, Lisa. 3 great properties. I have my first trip scheduled for October. I have a conference that has been rescheduled and rescheduled. I think we're looking at finally being able to get together in October, and we'll be looking at going to Cabo right now. So this will be not only my first trip, but first international trip. So I will keep you all posted as I get through that trip. If anybody is doing any traveling between now and then, it'd be great to hear from you. I did want to let everybody know that last week, Nikki Miner is in Iowa, and so she was in the middle of I cannot think of what, it's not a microburst, but it has some crazy word, and I can't think of what that is right now. But her house is safe, but they lost power for 3 to 4 days and have had some other damage done, but they at least are not without a house. They didn't have any, I don't know if you guys have seen some of the pictures on the news, but trees falling on houses and a lot of destruction. So she is safe, but want to let you know that she was affected there in Iowa. So we're right up on an hour. There you go, Derico. That it's before now I had never heard that word before. So from talking with other people, it's a very common thing in the Midwest, but it was not something that me from Colorado had heard. So we're right on an hour. I'm going to go ahead and let you all go. Thank you very much for joining us today. I appreciate it. I hope you got some information out of Mike's update. And I've got some follow-up items, so I will get some links out to you guys, as well as the sample terms and conditions. And then we'll follow up with you on the ability to put a link into our Andavo profile pages. So thank you, everybody. Hope you all have a good week. Stay in touch. Bye.